What's going on, everybody? It's Dwayne, back again for another video, back again for another reaction, and today's a great day because it's a Monday and it's a Sweden day. It's another video. What not to do in Sweden. Avoid these 10 mistakes. Avoid them. So without further ado, let's get into this reaction. Let's go.
That you shouldn't do in Sweden.
Start from the beginning.
Swedish people are polite and friendly, and they don't like to make a big fuss. They often smile, but they might still be furious on the inside. This is a list of 10 things that you shouldn't do in Sweden.
This is gonna be good for me because I need to know what not to do in order to not offend a Swedish person. I need to go through Swedish society smoothly. So I'm going to learn the etiquette of your country. So let's go. So pretty.
So you want to visit the cold north and explore the lovely country of Sweden, but you don't want to make a fool of yourself. I'm here to help you with that. With this simple guide, you can avoid the worst pitfalls when you travel to Sweden. Let's kick things off with buying a round of drinks.
Okay. So I'm what? Because in the UK, buying a round of drinks is very normal. It's very, very, very normal. I wonder if it's the same in Sweden. Let's see.
So you're at a bar with some random Swedish people you've met, and you notice that your glass is empty. You want to be a good chap, so you surprise your new friends by bringing back a pint of beer for everyone at the table.
Yeah.
Imagine your surprise when you're not met with cheers and thanks. Instead, you're met with suspicious looks. Buying rounds isn't all that common in Sweden.
Right.
Everyone typically buys their own drinks. If you buy a round, every Swede starts to do a mental calculation. We're 5 people at the table. That means I'm gonna have to drink 5 more drinks, and I was planning on going home soon. A Swede will feel obligated to pay you back for the drink you bought him. You just wanted to be nice, but instead you accidentally caused him anxiety.
That is so... I'm very similar to Swedish people. So in Britain, buying a round of drinks is very, very common. And it just happens automatically. One person will go to the bar or in the pub and they will purchase a round of drinks for everyone. And sometimes they don't even ask the people on the table whether they would like a drink. They'll just, well, they will. They'll be like, oh, what you drinking? They'll say, what you drinking? And then you'll be like, oh, I'm going to get like a bottle of cider. Okay, cool. And then they'll ask the next person. Say, oh, no, I'm going to get my own drink. You can't do that because they're saying the round's on me. But then you're expected to purchase the next round of drinks. So if there's like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of you, then it can get quite expensive. And... you have to stay for your round. So if there's 10 of you, then there's 10 rounds. So you're going to have to stay for those 10 rounds of drinks. And it's very much in British culture. So I like that in Sweden, you kind of purchase your own individual drink. So when it's time to go home, you can go home. Because you don't owe anyone anything. So I prefer that. I prefer that. I'm very happy that's the case.
Imagine that you're starting a new job at a Swedish company. At the fika break, you start asking people how much money they make.
That looks so good. I know I'm sorry to cut him off, but what is that? That looks delicious. Let me know in the comment section what that is. It looks like almost like a pie, and that's a pie, an apple pie maybe, with custard, but it's got like an orange peel on it. Has it got an orange flavor to it? It just looks delicious.
Everyone suddenly at the fika break, you start asking people how much money they make. Everyone suddenly looks away and mutters something about a meeting they forgot. You just made a big mistake.
Yeah.
Asking people about their salary is considered a big faux pas in Sweden. Swedish society is rooted in socialism and equality. Things are changing these days, but it's still considered rude to ask people about their salaries.
Yeah.
A Swede will happily tell you about their divorce or their mental illnesses, but how much they make, that's a secret they'll take to the grave.
Yeah, it's rude. It's rude in British society as well. We don't discuss how much our salary is. That's not something that we do. It's just, what society do they do that in? Do they do that in America? I don't know where they actually do that. Like, someone actually just comes up to you like, oh, how much do you earn, by the way? Like, it's none of your business.
But what if you start by first telling everyone how much you make? Well, that leads to the next taboo topic. Boasting is very rude in Sweden. You might be good at something or make a lot of money, but you don't talk about it. Jantelagen, the law of Jante, is a Swedish term for not believing that you're better than anyone else. The closest English term is the tall poppy syndrome, about cutting the head off any poppy that grows taller than the others. People might smile and appear impressed if you boast about something, but don't be surprised if you're never invited back again to a party with that crowd.
It's true though. No one cares. No one wants someone that's like boastful. It's just not nice as well. Like, what if you're not in the same situation or same boat? Like, if you're doing well, great. Success doesn't need to be spoken about. You can see success. If someone's successful, you can see it. But there's something to be said about people that are humble. If you're humble, yet doing very well, but yet very normal and down to earth and easy to talk to, that is a great quality in somebody. But being braggadocious and being like, I have this much money in my bank account, I have 10 cars, I go to this place for dinner and blah 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 blah, it's just not attractive at all. So yes, I agree with Swedish people on this one. If this is the case, I'm guessing so because he's Swedish. Let me know in the comment section. But yeah, boasting it's not nice.
Won't tell it to your face, but you've just become a boasting pariah that people want to avoid. The next thing not to do is pretty simple. Don't assume that all of Scandinavia is the same. Norwegians and Swedes are different. Danes and Swedes are different. And Finnish people aren't even Scandinavian. They're part of the Nordics. Each country has their own customs, their own language, and their own set of values. Danish people are all drunk and lazy, for example. And Finnish people are depressed and speak monosyllabically. And Norwegians just live off their oil money and wander around in the mountains. They don't do anything useful. So the next time you're thinking of saying that Sweden is similar to Denmark, then you're implying that we are drunk and lazy as well.
That's so funny. Yes, I know this now. I know that you're very different. Very, very different. Actually, I'm learning about Norway on another channel of mine, which will be in the description. And yeah, you guys are different, completely different, especially Finland. Finland's very different. So, I don't know. It's interesting to me why people mix up all these countries because they're not the same. You have similarities, but you're not the same.
No, but seriously, we see the differences in our cultures very, very clearly, even if you might not. Have you ever been on an escalator in Sweden and noticed that you have a line of people behind you, sighing in frustration and looking annoyed? Chances are you've been standing on the left side of the escalator. Never stand on the left side. The left side is for walking and the right side is for standing still.
Yeah, it's the same in the UK, especially London. Oh, especially London. If you stand on the left in London, you probably will be asked to move out of the way. Like, excuse me, you're in the wrong side. Yeah, you stand on the right. Is this the same throughout Sweden, or is it specifically Stockholm, where it's hammered in that you stand on the right? Let me know in the comment section.
This is mostly a problem in bigger cities like Stockholm. I don't even know if they have escalators in smaller towns. If you stand on the left side, no one will shout at you, because Swedes dislike confrontation. But if looks could kill, you'd be stabbed more times than Julius Caesar. Here's a simple little rhyme to help you remember where to stand. Stand on the right, now that's all right. Stand on the left, and you're a stupid bastard.
Yeah, it's a big city thing, I think. It must be a big city thing. A capital city kind of mentality. Everyone's in a rush.
In the US, it's common to call politicians religious and God-worshipping and God-fearing, and that's intended to be a good thing. If a politician in Sweden were to call themselves God-fearing, there would be quite a few raised eyebrows. Religion isn't very big in Sweden. Many people have some sort of faith though, and we do like churches. They're big and cool and they look absolutely awesome, but you don't really go there to worship God. That's where you listen to choirs and concerts instead. Most people in Sweden are atheist or at least agnostic, and it's seen as a bit of an odd thing to start to talk about your faith. The best way to ensure that you're never invited to any of the cool midsummer parties is to say that you're deeply religious. If you have to say anything, just say that you're spiritual. That's much more accepted.
That's interesting. So, spiritual is more accepted. It's seen as not as what's the word I'm looking for? Divisive. Not as controversial. Like maybe being religious is quite controversial in Sweden. I'm guessing because most people are agnostic and atheist. Yeah, I think Britain's getting more like that, but it's still, like for example, our monarchy is still very much tied to God and religion. I don't know if you watched the coronation, but it was very religious in aspects, and yeah, I think that's still in our society, but I think we're turning a little bit more atheist as time goes on. So yeah, I do understand this way of being.
Do you speak like this most of the time? Then you're not really gonna fit in Sweden. Swedish people are pretty quiet, and we appreciate people speaking softly if they have to speak at all. Also, having your phone on speaker mode is just completely unacceptable anywhere. Just forget about that feature completely when you go to Sweden. Use your headphones like everyone else. However, Swedish people aren't always quiet. When a Swede is drunk, they will be as loud and obnoxious as humanly possible. I'm not saying that we Swedes are like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but I'm not saying that we aren't.
That's good. So you guys are quite softly spoken and not really loud and brash. It sounds like the opposite of Americans. It sounds like Swedish people are the opposite of American people. And it's funny because I'm currently watching The Great Swedish Adventure on my Patreon, which you guys should definitely join in because we're only on the first episode, so you're not too late. And it's Americans who are Swedish, and on the TV show you can just tell that they're very Americanized, and they go into Sweden and there is a huge cultural difference from how they've been raised in America, because they're so far removed from their Swedish culture that you just really see that parallel, opposite cultural like way of being, and how loud they are compared to the Swedish people that they come in contact with. Very quiet, maybe a bit more demure. It's just very interesting. It's very funny. So that's probably why that show is so popular, because they're trying to find their Swedish roots and Swedish way of being, which is very different from Americans. So yeah. Do you enjoy a bit of personal space? Maybe a couple of decimeters or so?
Well, Swedish people need at least a couple of meters at all times. During COVID, everyone had to stand 2 meters apart, but no one really noticed the difference in Sweden. Don't sit next to someone on the subway if there's an empty seat anywhere else in the car, and don't stand too close when standing in line. Otherwise, you'll make us poor Swedes extremely uncomfortable, and you'll come off as some sort of sociopath. Or possibly American. And whatever you do,
Or possibly American.
don't start talking to people when standing that close. That's just plain weird. Next is a short but sweet one. Don't talk about the Finnish hockey team. Yes, the Finnish are pretty good at hockey. You don't have to rub it in. Sweden has been neutral for a long time, and we haven't been at war for ages. But the hockey matches between Finland and Sweden are as close as we get.
Very competitive. I haven't ever watched a hockey match. You know, that's another video. That is another video. I am going to, because hockey is huge in Sweden, isn't it? It's huge in Finland as well, but it's really big in Sweden. And yeah, I don't know much about ice hockey. So yeah, that's probably going to be another video for another day.
There's one thing that makes Swedish people furious more than anything else. It's not murder. People die sometimes, it happens. It's not talking crap about Sweden. We do that ourselves anyway all the time. The worst thing you can do in Sweden is to cut in line. Standing in line is holy in Sweden. You must respect the queue and you cannot try to cut in line. Granted, this is a bit of an extreme example. This is the line to get into Comic-Con Stockholm, but the principle still stands. Do you remember the law of Jante I mentioned earlier? Basically,
I love, you know, I love, look at this space between where people are standing. Like everyone is like giving each other some serious space. It's like that in the UK, and also standing in line and being in a queue. Do not cut in line. It's exactly the same, and it's mainly people outside of Europe that don't really get that concept. Mainly Asian countries, if I'm being honest, and that's not a bad thing. I just think it's a cultural thing. In Asia, it's almost first come, first served in a lot of countries. Whoever gets there first gets there first, and there's not really a concept of queuing and lining. There's a joke in England that Brits will just formulate a line when there's not even a line needed. It will just stand in line wherever it is. It's just an unspoken rule. So it sounds like it's a similar thing in Sweden.
don't believe that you're special and that you deserve to move ahead of others in the queue. It's all about fairness. Everyone hates standing in line, but everyone has to share the pain and no one gets special treatment.
Yeah.
And there you have it. Cutting in line is probably the worst thing you can do in Sweden. And that ends my list of the top things not to do if you visit Sweden. I hope you found it useful or at least interesting. Like and subscribe, but most importantly, have a great day. Now to show what a hypocrite I am gonna try to cut in line because I have a press pass. Haha, sucks to be them.
Ooh, he has a press pass to Comic-Con. He's fancy. How do you get a press pass for Comic-Con? I want to go, guys. That was really interesting. The more I learn about Sweden, the more I realize that we actually have a lot in common. Like England, the UK, and Sweden has a lot in common, and I shouldn't really be surprised. Even though I am surprised, I shouldn't be surprised because, you know, it's not very far away, is it? It's not really far away if you think about it. And there's so much shared history between the two countries. So, yeah, the more and more I learn, the more and more I really want to come, and I cannot wait to travel and wait to go to Sweden. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Before you go, my Patreon is still live. We've had our first Film Friday, and I just have to thank all of the people that have joined. I am literally blown away by how many of you, like, genuinely, thank you very much. Like, honestly, thank you very much for joining. So I'm excited to watch these TV shows. So if you don't know, we're doing 2 TV shows, because even though one of them won, I was like, it's not really learning about the positive side of Sweden. So we have the positive side of Sweden and kind of the, not negative, but like the underground kind of edgy part of Sweden. So we're doing the greatest Swedish adventure. And we've done the first episode of that, and it made me quite teary and quite joyous, and it was very positive. And it's really interesting seeing Americans trying to learn about their Swedish heritage. So I'm really enjoying that. And we're also doing Snabba Cash, which is a TV show which is more about the criminal aspect of the underground of Sweden. It's kind of dramatized for dramatic effect, but I'm really enjoying it. So guys, if you haven't subscribed to my Patreon, the link's in the description. I'll love to see you there. And yeah, thank you very much to everyone who already has signed up. Until the next video, I will see you later.